I'd like to welcome everyone today to the University of Northern Iowa Men's Basketball Media Day. Thank you for coming out. Appreciate your coverage throughout the year. I'd like to just take a moment to introduce my full-time staff here, who's now full after Football Media Day. We didn't have everybody in place, but we have a new addition, Tyson Rogers, member of our staff, and Michelle Van Dorn. So if any of the three of us can help you throughout the year, we'd be more than happy to do so. Next up is going to be head coach Ben Jacobson. Coach Jake is entering his 12th year. Only two other coaches have spent more time here at the University of Northern Iowa. Han Nordley, 15 years, and Jim Barry had 13. Eldon Miller and Art Dickinson also had 12 years. So Coach Jake joins that long list of long-tenured coaches here. I won't waste any more of your time, and we'll introduce him. Head into his 12th year, head coach Ben Jacobson.
Thanks for being here again this year. We really appreciate it. Let's start by introducing my staff again. Thankfully, it's the same crew that I've had for a long time. Kyle is into his 11th year. PJ is not here today. He's on the road recruiting. Kyle's 10 out of 11. PJ's all 11. Andre is back again this year as our strength coach. Nets is back again as our director of ops. Jake is in an assistant video coordinator role this year. And Eric Crawford is back with us again. We had an opportunity this year to elevate Kyle to our associate head coach position. Really happy and thankful that we've been able to do that with Kyle. As I said, and as you know, our team has been together a long, long time, and couldn't be more fortunate to have the group that we have working with our young guys and working for our university. And the opportunity presented itself this past spring. And with what Kyle has done on the recruiting trail, what he has done with our players, what he has done in our community, he earned that promotion to our associate head coach. So, again, very happy and thankful to be able to do that. David Harris, our athletic director, is here today, well into year two and just doing a tremendous job for us. His leadership has been felt in all corners of our department, which is obviously important, but also on our campus and in our community and with everything that we're trying to get done. So I want to thank David for his leadership, and parts of his team are here today as well. Justin Schemmel, Ann Arns, Steve Schofield are here today also. Just a couple comments before I open it up for questions. One on how our guys are doing academically. Over the course of the last 16 semesters, 14 of those 16 semesters, we have had a 3.0 GPA or higher as a team. We're really proud of what the guys have done and continue to do in the classroom. Now, if you do look that up, 2 of those 14, one's a 2.97, one's a 2.98. But I think that will, I'm going to count that as a 3.0. But to do that 14 in the last 16 semesters says a lot, not only about our guys and what they're doing in the classroom, but also the support that we have from Stacia, from others on campus, from Elaine Eschbaugh, our academic athletic representative. So again, just really proud of what our guys have been able to do in the classroom. Ted Friedman, who has been mentioned before, and he's just been unbelievable. There's been some other guys come through here recently, Max Martino and Nate Buss. And there's been some others, but Ted is currently at a 3.97 GPA. He will, at the end of this semester, he will have 3 degrees from our business department, and with a 3.97 GPA. So, very proud of what Ted is doing. On the injury front, Lincoln and Wyatt were nicked up a little bit this weekend. They're both should be back in practice tomorrow and should be full go for this upcoming weekend. Hunter Rhodes has been out for a little bit with an injury to the bottom of his foot. That may be 2 to 4 more weeks. And then Justin Dahl has had some trouble with his neck and his shoulders. Hoping to have him back within a week, maybe 10 days. Everybody else is doing pretty well. Coach Crawford is moving along better and feeling pretty good after the deal after practice, probably 3 weeks ago, and happy to report that he's moving along and doing better and going to be able to do everything with us. He's able to come to the practice floor now, not able to be a part of practice yet, but able to come to the practice floor. He'll be able to travel with us once we start traveling, so he's doing well. Our 1990 team coached by Eldon Miller. He and his staff, and Kevin Lehman is here again this year. Kevin was an assistant on that staff with that team that went to the NCAA tournament and beat Missouri in the first round, got beat by Minnesota in the second round. We are going to have our 25-year celebration of that crew. It's 2 or 3 years late. I've been stubborn enough to continue to call it our 25-year celebration of that group. We've been wanting to do it for 2 or 3 years now. And fortunately, it'll work out this year. Eldon is still working as Ben Miller, his son, as one of his assistant coaches. And we play them in an exhibition game on Sunday, November 5th. So we put together a Saturday-Sunday reunion of that team, and we're going to have we've had a great response so far. I anticipate having most of that team back along with their families, coaches, managers, anyone associated with that team. So we're excited to be able to get those guys back here and honor them one more time and celebrate that 25-year anniversary of their NCAA tournament. All right, with that, I would open it up for questions.
Coach, I know big thing that I know with Bennett and Clint obviously going to be like the leaders of your team this year. I know you talked in the past about how difficult it is to kind of make that jump to be like the voices in the locker room. How do you think they're adjusting to that so far?
They've done a great job so far, and I would include Ted in that group as well. As all three of those guys being fifth-year seniors, I think last year with Jeremy being a fourth-year senior, Jordan being a senior but only being here for 1 year, that Clint, Bennett, Ted, there was some leadership that was put onto them last year as well, and I think that's helped them. But I think the most important thing when it comes time for you to take on more leadership, or when you become a senior and you take on a completely different role in terms of the leadership of our program, it all goes back to how hard you're working. I don't think there's any question that that's what your teammates respond to. That's what your program responds to, is how hard you're working individually. How hard did you work to prepare yourself? How hard are you working at practice every day? How hard are you competing at practice every day? There isn't anybody that's practicing that wants somebody telling them what to do if they're not doing it themselves. And from that standpoint, Ted has always done a tremendous job. Bennett and Clint this is the best that they have done in terms of preparing themselves for a season. And it would go back to last spring. It's the best spring they had, it's the best summer they had, and it's been the best fall that they've had. And it's nice to have experience. It's nice to get older. Those things will help Ted, Bennett, and Clint in terms of leadership, but there isn't anything like preparing yourself and working. And those guys have done a great job of that.
For Clint Carlson, a couple years ago at the NCAA tournament, had that kind of a coming out, and then last year, maybe not as productive as he may have wanted himself to be. What can take him to that next level? I mean, it's usually small things, but what can take him to that next level?
Hard work. I mean, I've had a number of conversations with him going back to last spring, and even before that, earlier in his career. But no different than what I just talked about. If you're going to be a good leader, you're going to have to work hard. For him to improve his game, he was going to have to work harder. And he had a stretch. This would have been 3 to 4 weeks ago. He had a stretch where he took upwards of 8,500 shots in 10 days. And we've never had anybody do that. And I was on him pretty good. And for parts of his time here, he hasn't responded real well to getting in the gym and working hard enough to earn the kind of confidence that you need to have to be a great player. There's been times that he has, but there's been times that he hasn't, and I give him a lot of credit for what he's done this fall. He's been great in terms of how hard he's worked. Now, how that translates to the basketball part of it, he's shooting the ball with a lot more confidence, which you would expect if you're going to put in that kind of time. And that's made a big difference for him. What I talked to Clint about a lot was, if you make three-point shots, you are going to be very, very hard to defend. What that will do for our offense, if you're going to make three-point shots at a high rate, if you're going to have the confidence to take three-point shots, the way Paul Jesperson, the way Matt Bohannon, the way those guys approached that part of their game. Now, he isn't the same shooter that those two guys are, but he has, he's finally put in the same amount of work So he is a much better shooter than he was a year ago, and that was my biggest message to him, and in terms of the offensive side of it. And now we need him to rebound at a higher level. He doesn't have enough offensive rebounds at this point in our practices. And I talk about the two things that he's got to do better. I can tell you he's in the best shape that he's ever been in. As I have mentioned, this is as hard as he's ever worked to get ready, and he's playing at a high level right now. But the change is going to come through hard work.
Wyatt, I know that you mentioned that he's been a little banged up, but he's back after that ankle injury all of last year. What were you missing from him throughout the entire year last year, and are you expecting a breakout year for him, or what is your expectations with him?
Yeah, you miss his enthusiasm, you miss how hard he plays. He doesn't. Wyatt's one of those guys that he doesn't mess around. Whether it's practice, whether he's in the gym by himself working out, whether it's on game night, there isn't any part of him that lack of a better term, he's not messing around. He's here to get a job done, and you miss that. With your team. And last year we had a number of first-year guys on our roster, and when Wyatt got hurt and you take him out of that forces a couple of those first-year guys into more action. And so it's great to have him back on the practice floor because of what I mentioned, how hard he plays, and the fact that when he comes to work, he comes to work, and that's been really good for everybody. In terms of what happens this year, yeah, I think he's going to have a terrific year. He doesn't pass up any opportunities to get his work in and get better, and he's practiced well, so I expect that he'll have a big year.
There were points last year where Bennett looked like, one of the dominant players in this league, and then other times he would have foul trouble and kind of disappear. What have you really honed in on stressing to him so he can be that consistent leader, that consistent producer for you?
Yeah, a couple things with Bennett. One is the foul trouble, and when we just Coach Green has talked to him a lot about that. I just talked to him about it again last week, watching some practice and watching some film, that if he would increase his effort defensively, he wouldn't have to foul. And so the two go hand in hand. And he's had a couple of really good days where he hasn't fouled as much because, as a fifth-year senior and as one of our two best players, we need him on the floor. And he understands that part of it. How you get to it is by putting in more effort. He's practiced well. His last three practices, he's shooting just under 73% from the field. He's taken the most shots in the group. For the most part, he's led us in rebounding over the 11 practices. So he's practicing at a high level. He's in the best shape that he's been in. But he asked me 2 or 3 days ago what I thought about his rebounding from the previous practice or two, and I said you need to increase your effort. Because he hadn't gotten as many as what he had gotten in the previous couple practices. And I said, hey, you're playing hard and you're playing well, and you're in the best shape you've ever been in. You're doing a great job. If you want to get more rebounds, increase your effort. And, fortunately, we've got guys that respond to feedback. And Clint and Bennett have been great in terms of responding to the things that we've challenged him with. But it's going to be his effort on a nightly basis and his commitment to staying out of foul trouble, and they go hand in hand.
You mentioned Clint already, but you got a couple other guys on your team in this area with Austin and with Lincoln. Where do you see their roles this year?
Lincoln's still got he's still got some work to do, and he and I have talked about that. He's improved a lot as a player, but he's still got a lot of work to do to get caught up if he's going to be able to have an impact for us on game night. The good thing is he's putting that kind of work in and putting in the time it takes to get better, but he's still got some work to do to get into the rotation. Austin is doing great for a first-year guy. He plays hard on every single possession. He doesn't take a play off, and because of that, he's been able to improve quite a bit, even in the 11 practices that we've had. He improved over the course of the summer because he takes advantage of every opportunity that he gets. He got here, he had done a great job in the weight room, and he had gotten really strong, but he wasn't in good enough shape when he got here to start summer school. And when we got done at the end of July, we talked to him about getting in better shape. He came back. He's 4, 5, 6 pounds lighter, and when we started at the end of August, and so he's not afraid to work, and he plays extremely hard. He doesn't miss on an opportunity or a rep. He's always going to give his best effort, and as a lot of first-year guys are, he plays too fast. When he catches the ball, he's moving too fast, and so he's making some mistakes at times because of that, but that'll go away. We love his effort.
What's the next step for Juwan to take?
It's in some ways what I talked about with Clint. And Juwan's he's practiced well. Early in practice, our first 3 or 4 practices, he was looking to score a little bit too much for what this team needs. I think he's going to average double figures because he's a good player, and he's going to have a prominent role on our team. So I think he'll average double figures, and that's what I talked to Juwan about is I'll be really surprised if you don't average 10, 11, 12, 13 points a game. And that, our team can use that from you, and you're good enough to do that. But you have to also lead us in assists. He's got the ability to make a lot of things happen, put a lot of pressure on the defense, and that's so early on in practice he had a handful of assists, 4 or 5 assists and 4 or 5 turnovers, and over the course of the last 7 or 8 practices, the last 3 I can tell you he's got 12 assists and 2 turnovers. So he's got the ability, and with Bennett and Clint, with Wyatt, with some of the other guys that we've got on our team now, and the things that we can do with our offense, I think Juwan could have a great year in terms of running our team, pushing our team to do things offensively, be a guy who's got a high assist number, but then also get double figures, 2, 3 layups and 2, 3 threes, and you've got, you got 10, 11, 12 points. It's, and he's going to be a big part of what we do. So, the most important thing for him is getting in and putting in the time and putting in the work that it takes to be confident in what you're doing.
Coach, you talked about Austin 5. How about your other 2 newcomers, Taiwan and Miles? Are they going to be in the rotation, or how are those 2 working out?
Yeah, Taiwan first. He's off to a great start. And I know he really played well in the primetime league this summer, and he got a lot of buzz because of it. And there isn't anybody guarding anyone in the primetime league, so it doesn't translate. It's good that they can play in the games and play in front of a crowd, but nobody's guarding anybody. He's really done a great job. And defensively, he's been good. He's got good footwork. He's big enough and strong enough. He's made a difference on the boards. And then offensively, he's shot a good percentage from the three-point line, and he's passed the ball well. So he's off to obviously we liked him a lot and felt like he was going to be a really good player. He's probably a little bit ahead of where I thought he'd be when you look at everything it takes to have an impact. Now, in saying that, he's got to work to get in a little bit better shape as we get ready for playing. And obviously, he's a first-year guy. He's got a ton of things that are new for him, and he's going to make some mistakes. But he's probably a little bit ahead of where I thought he might be at this point. He's really doing well. Miles brings a ton of energy and a ton of effort to what we're doing. Plays a little bit too fast right now. But he's a guy who gets offensive rebounds. He's a guy that's making hustle plays. He's a guy that always got a smile on his face, always playing as hard as he can play. And I think at some point he's going to find a role on our team. Cale, I don't know if it'll be whether that's this year or next year. I don't know. But really like what he brings to the table because he plays so hard all the time.
What's the big thing for
Spencer? Kind of made a nice role for himself in his first year last year. How do you like from him now that he's his second year of vaccine game?
Yeah, he's a lot better player than he was a year ago. He's got a lot of confidence in the way he's playing on offense right now. Had a great practice 2 days ago. And there's, one of the things I would say, and I'll get back to Spencer, we've had really good competition at the spots. Juwan and Spencer at the point guard position, Isaiah and Wyatt at that off guard position, Taiwan and Tanner at that small forward position, and then up front with Clinton Bennett. Guys, their competition in practice is much different than what it was last year. Luke was a redshirt freshman and wasn't very strong. He's a much different guy right now. And Ted is a better player than what he was a year ago. And then you throw Austin into the mix, and now you've got some guys at practice that can compete with Bennett and Clint. And it's forced those guys to have to practice better and practice harder. And that's been good for the two of them. So the competition at all the spots it's just a higher level. And as I run through those guys, Adam McDermott is right in the mix with Wyatt and Isaiah at that spot, coming off his probably 2 best practices in terms of shooting the basketball. If I missed on anybody, maybe one of the guys can help me out here, or you can ask me as we go. But the reason I bring that up is because I really like the competition that we've got at spots. And I think that's going to pay off for us. Back to Spencer, his biggest challenge is staying in front of the basketball. That hurt him and hurt our team at times last year. He's much better than he was a year ago. But we just had that talk a couple days ago again, that he has got to work to find a way to stay in front of the basketball. Because what he does offensively and the way he's playing right now, the way he's practiced right now, he's got, like I said, he's got a ton of confidence in what he's doing. And he's had a really good week. He's shooting the ball well and making plays for our team. And I really like the competition with him and Juwan right now at that spot. And they're both going to be a big part of what we do.
How about Isaiah Brown, Coach? How's he look? How's he fit in this year?
Yeah, he's made a lot of improvements. Really like what he's doing. Initially we had played him this up until about 4 or 5 days ago. We had played him at that small forward position. That doesn't fit him as well as the off guard spot. Just physically, Ty and Tanner are both in better position right now, physically to be able to play that small forward spot. So we've shifted him over and played him with one of those guys at practice, and that's been a better spot for him. He's rebounded better from that spot. And now it's, I've said it quite a few times today, and I'm sure I'll say it a few more before we're done. For him, just getting in and putting in, getting enough shots up every day. I think he's a guy that can make 3-point shots for us. He's long enough to be able to get out in transition and get some points that way. 1 or 2 dribbles in a direct line drive in the half court to the rim. He's long enough to get some points at the rim for us. And we think he's got a chance to be awfully good. And as I've said, the challenge is to get in and get enough shots up so you've got confidence that matters. But we like what he's doing.
Adam McDermott, what do you like about having a guy that's 6'4" and can shoot the ball? And was he a guy that you guys were looking at high school? He's a transfer from North Dakota, for sure.
Yeah, we watched him play in high school and talked to him a little bit about where we were at, what our thoughts were at that time. As we know, the ability to make 3-point shots for our offense and for our program, that's a big deal for us. And when we've got it, we've either got 2 or 3 elite level shooters, or we've got 4 guys on the floor that can all make 3-point shots. Adam's got a chance to fit into that category of an elite level shooter before he's done. And to have a guy, as you said, to have a guy with some size that is going to make a high percentage of 3-point shots, that's always been a big deal for us. And that'll be, for him, that'll be his way to find a role on our team. And because he does all the other things right. He's in the right position defensively. He guards the ball pretty well. Doesn't try to do too much offensively. He understands. He knows who he is. And our guys understand and know what he's capable of. And he's had, I don't know if I mentioned it yet or not, but the last 3 or 4 days, the last 2 or 3 practices have been his best ones. And but there's no question that the ability to make 3-point shots at a high rate is going to give him a chance to be in a rotation.
Who takes over that defensive stopper and kind of replaces Jeremy Morgan in that role?
Yeah, we're working on that. We've had plenty of discussions in the office, and we've talked with a handful of the guys. Right now, we're working hard on, from a team standpoint, getting in front of the basketball and staying in front of the ball. We've got to do a better job of it from a team standpoint. Who takes on that job? The most likely candidates are Taiwan and Isaiah, in terms of having some size and some strength with Taiwan, some size and length with Isaiah. Those guys are both young, but we're going to keep pushing them to be able to. I mean, it's, when a couple years ago, when you've got Wes and Jeremy, you've got 2 guys doing it at a really high level, your defense is, of course, better. Last year, Jeremy and Jordan ended up being a good defender for us. So we're missing not just Jeremy, but Jordan as well from last year. So I'm as interested as you are to see who wants to take on that job. And we've told the guys, and they understand that if there's some minutes to be had by someone who wants to defend and rebound. So, we're hoping to see a couple guys emerge.
Coach, we've had a couple of guys from Kirkwood over the years with Ashton, Hunter, and now Miles Winston. Is that coincidence, or are you liking what they've been doing the last?
Yeah, and you go back, you can go back a little farther to Ali. Go back even farther to when we first got here, David Gruber. So it's getting to be a pretty good list of guys now from Kirkwood. Doug Wagenmaster was their head coach going all the way back with Ali and then with Grubes. And now Brian Peterson, who played at Kirkwood for Wags, is their head coach. So the way in which they go about things at Kirkwood, or the way in which we go about things here in Northern Iowa, whichever order you want to put them in, it's not that different. They coach their guys at the defensive end of the floor. They coach them so that they're ready when they're done, and so that's been a good relationship for us.
What have you seen out of McDonald, and is he fully healthy now?
Luke is fully healthy, much better player than he was a year ago. The work that he's put in the weight room has paid off for him, I would guess, and you can ask him when you see him today. I would guess he's up 10 pounds probably from last year. Much more confident player than he was a year ago, and you'd expect that being in your second year instead of your first year. And now he's putting in more time this fall in terms of shooting. For him, he's a guy that needs to stretch the floor for us. He's a guy that needs to make three-point shots for us, whether we play him at the center position or the power forward position. And right now, a little bit of both. Still kind of lean toward that center position, and then stretch the floor a little more with another three-point shooter. But that's going to be part of his job, is to stretch the floor and make three-point shots. And the only way you do that is to get in every day and shoot hundreds of them. And so he's much better than he was a year ago.
Coach, I see Jeremy Morgan got released with the Grizzlies. Where is he landed at?
Yeah, he had signed, and this was going back to, I don't know if it was when it was, some point in the summer or late summer. He had signed his contract with Memphis, a D-League contract. And so that contract is still in play. They start training camp either October 24th or 25th. So he'll go back down here shortly and again start with the D-League training camp, and he'll be a part of their D-League team. It was fun and rewarding to see him I think it was their first two preseason games, and I know he played in the first two for sure. But for him to be a part of that, to be in training camp as a rookie, and to be able to be a part of two of the preseason games, I thought was great for him. He's in the best shape he's ever been in. Talking to him, he said his jump shot feels great, his conditioning is great. So he's excited about it, and he's with a terrific organization. I had a chance to go out this summer and watch the summer league and see him play a couple of times, and be around just a little bit, and talk with a couple of their coaches just a little. But that roster is a very good roster, and that is a great organization right now with their leadership. So he's in a great spot, and as the guys know, you're going to have to beat somebody out. He's put himself in a terrific spot. He's with a great, as I said, he's with a great organization, and now he's got his opportunity with their D-League team to see if he can't fight and earn a starting spot, play the kind of minutes that he can get better with, and if something happens, have an opportunity to get called up. You're going to have to beat somebody out, and Jeremy knows that, but we're excited for him, and really like where he's at.
So much was made about the Wichita departure this offseason, but the flip side is it leaves this league seemingly pretty wide open. When you kind of look at the state of the conference, and is that something you're talking about to guys that, hey, there's any number of teams could emerge here?
Not really. And we don't talk about that much in any of the years. We didn't talk a lot about it when Creighton and Wichita were in the league. We didn't talk a lot about it the past few years when Wichita was here and Creighton wasn't. So I don't go down that road very often with our guys. A couple times a year probably. We talk about those kinds of things. Our goals and expectations are the same. Whether Wichita's in the league or they're not in the league, or go back to when Creighton and Wichita were in the league, fortunate to have some really good guys come through here, and we've had some good teams. And we won the regular season title when Wichita and Creighton were in the league. We went to the NCAA tournament, as we know, in 15 and 16 when Wichita was in the league. So our goals and our expectations haven't changed. But I think it's also important for our guys to understand that because those two teams aren't in the league, and now most recently Wichita, of course, that to think that it's going to be any easier than it's been to win a conference championship is 100% false. It's going to be just as difficult as it's ever been to win our conference championship. And that is the one thing that I have talked with our guys about. Look, we weren't even in contention for it last year, so we got a lot of work to do. If we're gonna be in position to win a conference championship, with or without Wichita State, or with or without Wichita and Creighton, we got a lot of work to do because we were not even close last year. So. My expectation is that we're going to get better, and we're going to be a better defensive team and a better rebounding team, and we're going to be in position. We're going to get in contention, and we're going to have a year that we're in some games that mean something come February. So we got a lot of work to do.
Jay, given the talent you've got back this year, obviously you're playing North Carolina in your seasonal opener, for this group of guys, that's probably more than most years, you really get to find out a lot about your team right out of the gate. How important is that for this group of guys?
Yeah, we've scheduled as hard as we can, as I think everybody knows, and so we get a lot of that, or as much of that as we can possibly get. Most years in November and December. It happens to be the opening night, playing at North Carolina, and then we're home for a week and go to the Bahamas, and that field in the Bahamas is obviously a very strong one. So, yeah, we're going to get in those games, but that's. I probably touch on it. I probably touch on it each year. That's the schedule that we want to play. That's the schedule our guys want to play. There's a part of that to kind of find out where you're at and to see what you need to work on. But that's down our list. I would tell you. We want to be on the floor with the best teams we can be on the floor with. And I want to, from a coaching staff standpoint, we want to find out what our guys got. And, yeah, there's going to be technical things. There's going to be some offensive things, some defensive things that are going to have to get corrected. That's part of the process each and every year. But I want to find out where we're at from a competitive standpoint. Find out which guys are going to, as was asked earlier, who our best perimeter defender is going to be, who's going to take on that role. We're going to find out what kind of rebounding team we have. Those are the things you find out when you play North Carolina and you play some of these other teams. So, but I'm much more interested to find out how competitive we're going to be as opposed to where our defense is or where our offense is. It's early in the year for everybody. We all got work to do on our offense and our defense, but we're pushing our guys right now in terms of their conditioning and in terms of being competitive and making plays that matter. So that's the part of it that we look forward to finding out early on.
What does the offense look like right now? You talked about on defense, the point of emphasis being staying in front of the ball. What's the offense look like? What might be a point of emphasis?
Yeah, there's the guys have done a great job without us having to talk about it a lot of getting the ball to Bennett. And because he is in the best shape he's been in his career, and because he's prepared himself the way he has, he's been highly efficient down there. So regardless of what we're doing, if it's in transition or something in the half court, the guys have done a tremendous job of getting him the basketball. And then Clint, I would say Clint's got the second most shots over the course of 11 practices. And he's so different offensively in terms of his mentality and his approach right now, because his confidence is a lot different. So he's taking some shots, some three-point shots in particular, that he wouldn't have even thought about taking last year. And that's been good to see. And that'll be an important part of what we're doing, as I talked about earlier. I think we're best when we can get in the open floor after a missed shot. With Jawan's speed and his ability to get the ball into the front court, Bennett, Clint, Ted, Luke, Austin, those guys as big guys, they can all run, they can all move, they can all run the floor. And then I think we're going to have some depth at all positions. So like every year, being able to play in transition will be important. But what has stood out to me has been, like I said, the guys have passed the ball very well, in particular the last 7-8 practices. Bennett has touched the ball a lot, and it doesn't matter to us how he gets it, whether that's transition or in the half court, or if we run a set, or if we're just running a little bit of motion, if we're running a ball screen. The guys have done a great job of getting him the ball. And then Juwan's really settled into making some reads and finding some guys. He's created some better three-point shots and some things at the rim for guys that'll be good for us. The big picture, it's as it is, I'm sure for everybody right now. It's a work in progress. But I would tell you that Bennett touching the ball, Clint being very aggressive, and Juwan having the ability to really make things happen. Those are the three things that are that we're going to work hard at here early.
Coach, Coach McCaffrey and Coach Pro have addressed this in some way. I know you are probably focused on other things, but what's been your thought of the status of college basketball with the FBI investigation? And this is kind of a two-part question. You mentioned that you're proud of 14 out of 16 years you've had your kids have a 3.0 GPA or higher. Has that maybe been lost in a lot of this as far as this whole thing?
To the first part of your question, I think it's good that it's happened. I think it's good that it took the FBI to come in and do it, but it's going to make our game better. We're going to come out of this better because of it. There's a couple dynamics to it. With the shoe companies, the agents, the kids, and colleges, there's certainly, because we don't live in that world, I don't have all the answers to it, but there's certainly some things from probably a rule standpoint that need to get addressed and need to get changed, maybe cleared up a little bit. There's also guys that are knowingly and willingly breaking the rules, and that needs to get changed. And I think the only way you change that is, increasing the penalties. If you're going to knowingly or willingly break the rules, the penalty should be really stiff. So I think it's going to end up being really good for our game that it happened. That it took the FBI to do it. Like I said, I think it's going to end up being good for our game.
You've talked, Coach, about the competition at various spots in your practices to this point. In that regard, how deep do you think this team could go once the season gets underway in terms of from a rotation standpoint? And second of all, with the one exhibition game that you mentioned on the schedule, do you play a closed scrimmage to fill that second spot?
Yeah, the second part of that question, I don't know if I can comment on the closed scrimmage or not. Can that be on our schedule? Yeah, I know that, of course, the public cannot come to a closed scrimmage. We cannot put anything out after the closed scrimmage. I'll find out by the time we get down to the floor if I can let you know when we're having it or not having it. I think that's one of the goofiest rules I've ever heard. Tell me your other part of your question, Josh.
Just number of guys.
Yeah, in terms of our rotation, like I said, I really like the competition that we've got going on at practice right now. And we've got to make sure it's at a really high level. It's one thing to have guys competing, but not at a level that's going to allow you to get better and allow you to put yourself in a position to win a championship. They've got to be competing at a high enough level to be able to do that. But I really like the competition. And seeing our team, I would tell you 9, 10, or 11 guys. I mean, obviously 9 or 10, we've done that before, and I've liked our teams that have been able to play 9 or 10 guys. With this team, I like it in a couple of ways. Bennett and Clint are our two best players, but I don't want those guys. We don't want those guys to play 35 minutes a night. That gets to be a really long season, and you look at our teams 2 years ago and 3 years ago in particular, Tuttle was the only guy that was playing close to 30 minutes a game. Everybody else was playing 18 to 24 minutes. Now, this team doesn't have nearly the experience that team had, but I do feel like we're going to be able to play 9 or 10 guys. And depending on how it shakes out, maybe an 11th guy that's just obviously playing 11 is difficult.
You guys struggled rebounding the ball last year. How do you go about it?
That's a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, you guys were not very good at it. How do you go about attacking that? How much is it you drill it? I mean, you can drill it as much as you want. How much of it is it kind of just getting a different mental approach or just kind of coaching the mental side of it?
Yeah, it's a combination of all of those things. I mean, guys have to understand the technique of blocking out. They have to understand the technique of rebounding. That's the smallest part of it. The two most important parts, guys have to, there's got to be something about them that they've got the determination it takes, and they've got, they've got something inside them that wants to get the job done. And whether that's rebounding or staying in front of the ball or what we do at the defensive end of the floor, what it means to, in terms of diving on the floor, taking charges. I mean, those things all go together. And we've pushed that on this group quite a bit. And we've got a ways to go there. As I've told them, we've had some really talented teams here. Obviously, we've had some very good teams here. The teams that were really talented and deep, Marvin Singleton was on that team. And he was, every day when we graded our practices, and we grade them all. We started with practice number 1 this year. We grade them all on rebounding. 90% is the goal. You either did your job or you didn't do your job. And Marvin was at 90% or higher every day that we graded him and coming out of every game that we played. And so because that team was deep and experienced and talented, they didn't lose sight of the fact that getting the job done, winning individual battles, whether it comes to rebounding, taking charges, diving on the floor, that was just as big a part of that team in 2015 as it should be with every team that we have. And so that's the message that we are continuing to push with these guys. When you're younger, you've got so many things going on. And that, last year, Jawan's a good example of that. There's so many things being thrown at you when you're young. It's hard to process all of it and still play hard enough where you're making a difference. And we're past that now with a lot of guys. A lot of these guys are into their second year. A number of them are into their third, fourth, or a couple guys into their fifth year. So there is absolutely no excuse for not getting the job done in rebounding. Either you don't want it bad enough, or I'm not holding you accountable as your head coach. Those are the only two things that are possible. So those two will be fixed, and then we'll find out, how bad the guys want to get rebounds.
Coach, I know last year, early on, there was a lot of, mixing and matching, switching with the starting lineup. Do you have an idea of who might make up your starting 5 this year? And do you have like a priority to hopefully they don't keep it, consistent with the same 5 throughout the year? Yeah,
boy, we'd like to. And you look back over the course of our teams, there's, most years it's been, once we've gotten started and things have guys have gotten comfortable in their role as a starter or coming off the bench, it's pretty much stayed that way throughout a season. Last year, we ran into a group that a bunch of new guys, and we bounced around a little bit. So I'd much prefer not to be in that spot, and I don't think we will be with this team. Bennett and Clint have, with their experience and the way that they've played, have separated themselves as they did a year ago. Wyatt has practiced very, very well, and he's got some experience that is helping him. So those 3 spots would be Wyatt, Bennett, Clint. Jawan has practiced very well of late and fits in well with that starting group. Spencer has just practiced so well that there's still a competition there at that point guard position. But Jawan has really practiced well, and I really like the ways. I talked about 12 assists, 2 turnovers here of late in the last 3 practices. What he's doing with our offense has been good. But there's good competition with those 2 guys. And then at that other spot, Taiwan, Isaiah, Adam, Tanner, there's some guys there that we got to sort that out still.
Is it nice having Haldeman off the bench, bringing some instant offense?
Yeah, there's no question that there's that aspect of it. Having somebody with no fear, if you will. The kind of confidence that it takes to be a really good scorer at this level, and he's got that. And when you can bring somebody off your bench that's got the ability to come in the game and get points quick, has got the ability to change the game a little bit with he's got a little bit of an edge to him. No question that would be very valuable coming off our bench. And if that's the way it plays out, I think that could really help this team. That could really be good for us. But we're still, I like what both those guys are doing. Jawan's been with the top group most of the time. And he's practiced well. I like what he's doing. Spencer's just practicing as I said, he's practicing so well and he's got so much confidence right now that we got to see how that goes here over the next 10 days. But the best fit is probably Juwan in the starting lineup and Spencer coming off the bench, with part of the reason being what your question is. Anybody else? All right, thanks again.
Thank you, Jake. We can make our way down to the floor and do some player interviews as well. So thank you for coming out.